Motion to accept the minutes. All made. Second. Motion. Discussion. Is there omission? All in favor? Opposed? Vote. So, which is point. Dawn, you want to start us off as to where we're at?
So the last meeting that you discussed this item, there was some confusion around bridge, impervious and vegetated, and the height of the structure. And as a result of that meeting, it was suggested that the applicant either change the height, the pitch of the roof in order to meet the max, not exceed the existing non-conforming structure, which is 28 inches, or to move the structure back. And in fact, the applicant has moved the structure back. So the plan that you received shows the relocation of the footprint further from the resource, and the part of the building that exceeded the 28.6 is now outside of the 100, so it can be up to 35. Any issue with the height of the structure in terms of the location. They did relocate the bunkhouse. I think it was referred to as a she shed somewhere in the documentation, but that was relocated, and it's away from the resource, away from the lake toward the road, but it's on a different side of the structure than it previously was located. I know. Big changes on the plan. I did update a draft findings of fact, made a couple of changes, not significant, and for some conditions of approval that were outlined. And I do have two suggested conditions, just points of clarification. The information submitted does appear to meet the requirements of the ordinance, but I mentioned there was some confusion around how to calculate this. And, there was some missing information about the increasing of the non-conforming aspect of the building. So I do suggest that the two conditions be added, that those numbers be. Otherwise, I believe that it meets.
Now, this application has been accepted as complete, right?
Yes.
That's where we stand, and then we table it for further action.
Taken public input and had a site walk.
Anything to present tonight, you folks? She's covered it? Okay, so I'll go around the room then.
Yeah, I'm just now reviewing the memo that was provided. Looks like it was from Mark to Dawn on impervious / unvegetated area. I'm not sure what this actually says.
So in reviewing the plan, they had crushed rock at one point, prior iteration to this meeting. And there was discussion with Mark around whether or not that actually is good in terms of the purpose of having that would be for some stormwater treatment, and actually pavement is better in terms of phosphorus control. So Mark recommended that the pavement be used instead of, so that was his comment on here. That's what he was speaking to when he was talking about phosphorus control being more beneficial as pavement. And then it is a little hard to interpret. He said that sometimes he uses boilerplates for when he puts standard conditions of approval, which you had noted in your document where you outlined the permitting history. There was reference to, maximum 35 feet, maximum 50% coverage. And so he's noting in here that sometimes those conditions are just kind of a cut and paste. We didn't make a statement as to what the existing condition was. So there may, when there's a non-conforming aspect, that percentage applies as if it's a undeveloped property, does not exceed. In this instance.
So from Mark's perspective, he's okay with anything in excess of 20%?
His interpretation or his statement is that as long as they reduce the number to get as close to 20%. The top sentence there. He noted that it's already in excess of the standard. There's no determination of what that square footage or percentage is, but he's acknowledged that and stating that they need to get closer to the 20%.
Okay. And do we have calculations on where we're at this point?
That is the thing, one of the two items that I'm suggesting as a condition prior to issuance of building permit is to confirm those numbers.
I think we asked.
Engineer had vegetated. And also, in going back to the numbers, I noted that we have the lot at a certain size in the assessing records, and now this is a survey. So they actually show that they have less land than what the assessing record. So that, it's hard, it's not apples to apples anymore, so that makes it a little bit more complicated as well. Excuse me.
Questions? Sir?
Just two comments. Mention. Beyond.
Less square feet than the town. So I will confirm that final number.
Look,
she shed, if you will. I can't quite understand one thing. You're denying me plumbing into a she shed, but the buyer before me was able to get a plumbing permit, put plumbing in there. Why is it that I can't get one or have plumbing in there just because I'm moving it? Because actually, if we put the cards on the table, Mark actually walked over to that property to the previous owner and handed him a plumbing permit for the structure. And I've got a copy of that. And I just can't figure out why I can't have a plumbing permit. That's all I'm asking.
anybody want to answer? Go ahead.
So at that time, we didn't have in our ordinance the requirements for an accessory dwelling unit. So that was mandated by the state. We put that in there. So that's now mandated. And in Winthrop, we specifically denied all accessory dwelling units within the shoreland zone. So you are not allowed to have an accessory dwelling unit. And again, we had the debate about, what's an accessory dwelling unit? It has to have, a bed, has to have a kitchen, has to have plumbing. So, and I think that's where we really haven't closed the loop on that as a town in our ordinance on exactly defining how we define that.
Right.
So I think as a board, we were saying that our concerns are that we're adding plumbing, we're allowing an accessory dwelling unit, which is now defined in our ordinance, which wasn't, what, a year ago,
And
9 months ago? It's new to the ordinance.
Okay, so when you say defined, what does that actually mean? Defined? What do you define?
Defined in terms of, the state says an accessory dwelling unit has to have plumbing, has to have living quarters, has to have a kitchen or some type of eating type area. It's very vague. What does that mean? So we're left to interpret what that means because it's not defined in the state and we didn't define it in our ordinance because it was something the state mandated. I don't think it's very clear as far as what constitutes an accessory dwelling unit.
Right.
We know they're not allowed in Winthrop, but when do we cross that line? We don't have bunkhouse defined. We don't have a lot of different types
So-
of structures defined in our ordinance. So it's kind of up to us as a judgment call. So,
And I-
my opinion is that if you take out the plumbing, no one could ever call that an accessory dwelling unit. There's no question, because that's something you can't add, you can't change, you can't modify without a lot of extra work. Where a bed and a kitchen facility are a lot more vague as far as how you would define those.
Sure.
I don't see the problem of having, like, if it's a sink and a toilet, it could be anything, it could be, one raft, sing off. I think it could be a pottery barn, like you're when they're like a little pottery place, you're doing pottery out there. It's yoga studio, you have to use the bath. I don't think that's dwelling.
Don?
Be a problem.
Again, I think it's the opinion of the boards. And it's a judgment call. That's the difference.
I mean, if
It's a
there's a
judgment.
kitchen going in there, designated spaces, I would feel, but
It's a judgment of when it's allowed and when it's not. If it crosses the threshold and becomes an accessory dwelling unit, our ordinance specifically forbids it. So we can't approve that without a variance. They'd have to go to the appeal board. Then it's a question of what that definition is, which is not clearly defined by the state. So then it's a judgment.
So you're saying, you're telling us, you're making the judgment to tell us that we can't have running water in there. That's what you're saying to us?
Mr. Chairman, just, this is an existing permitted structure. Are we talking about because of the relocation of it? Because the plumbing has already been permitted. We can't allow an accessory dwelling unit, and there's been a lot of conversation about the definition, the different types of structures that are allowed in the shoreline district. But is, sort of looking at this as a broader question, I think, to be more specific to this site, is that they have plumbing. Existing structure, but it is clearly not an accessory. That is documentation.
And all we're doing is moving it back and hooking the water back up. We're not adding any plumbing. The plumbing's already in the structure.
Be considered grandfathered?
Potentially. I mean, that's. Or it wasn't defined, now it's defined, right? But it's still not completely. So again.
And I can see,
Accessory dwelling unit has to have the three. We were in that space. It definitely has, I would say, an eating area, it definitely has a sink and plumbing. But I wouldn't say, it had a couch, but that's not necessarily a sleeping quarter. I don't know. And we're also have to be mindful, if we approve it, if we decide on this definition until we write it down, do others get to have that same kind of allowance? So we have to be careful if we're defining.
I understand that totally, but what I guess I'm confused at is that if I was having a second dwelling and then asking you for a plumbing permit, which the building didn't have any at all, Mine already does. It's established. So I can't understand why I just can't keep the plumbing. I mean, I don't see any problem with that. I mean, I just think I'm not asking for plumbing. It's already got plumbing. I'm just asking to hook the water back up.
Yeah, we're not asking for more.
Uh,
We have to keep the
uh,
structure.
Yeah.
We've, no,
No, I got no beds. It's just like the lovely lady right there said. So when the kids go swimming, they wash their hands. There's no place to sleep in it. It's a 16 by 15. It's tiny. There's no room for a stove.
Basically, the plumbing is just.
It's got a toilet and a sink. That's it.
shower.
Okay. Any other input? Other subjects?
No.
Okay. Dawn, where we at? Thank you. Any other input?
Just wanted to, was asking about confirming, Brett and Don Rosma confirming that 20, what the actual percentage of non-vegetative surface is. And then the confirmation of the 30% expansion, that the actual number is the expansion within that doesn't exceed the 30%. The bunkhouse should be noted as 64.2 feet from the northern boundary. That dimension should be labeled. And then the rip-up outlet should be relocated to the top of the vegetated buffer, which is 50 feet from the shoreline. That, and then I hear this consensus that.
One other question I have,
as well.
if you look at the drawing, the dimension 70.5. Show what that's going to. Was that supposed to be,
Didn't know what that was either, actually. I didn't call the engineer.
you know what that is? If you look at the drawing, I almost think it was attached to the old. Yeah, so it shouldn't have been there then. Okay, thank you. So what's the wishes, where are we at? I guess with the choices we have is
So
tabling,
the choices that you have are you could deny the application with a specific reference to the ordinance where it doesn't meet it. You can approve the application as presented. You could prove it with conditions, or you could table or continue it for more information. And if you do decide to make a decision to approve it this evening, I would ask that you reference the finding of fact and make any changes and adopt that as amended.
what's the wishes of the board?
Can I speak relative to the accessory structure of the she shed? Personally, I'm completely fine. I mean, they did what they were supposed to. The previous property owner, they got a permit for the plumbing. They got it installed. I'm perfectly fine in just specifying if we go forward with an approval that the she shed remains as an accessory structure, never to be converted into a dwelling unit. Allow them to continue to use their plumbing. I don't see a problem with that.
You want to make a motion?
I'm
We'll leave it to Greg.
hesitant to make a motion to approve, given that I don't know what that unvegetated percentage is. That's my only hesitation.
make
If
a
there was something in
motion
front of me tonight,
to-
I would,
Table to the next meeting?
or if somebody else is jumping on it to make a motion. I mean, I hate to continue to put these guys off because I know they've been in front of us a bunch of times now. And I think
It just, the amount of. Yeah. So I understand we need a number, but it is less. We know it's not. We know that, we're waiting. We're not gonna say.
That we would set the number, they've thrown out numbers like 21 point whatever. We set the number as long as the impervious cover was under 22%. That as long as their impervious cover numbers, when they calculated it out, was under 22%.
Or maybe say that the impervious area is less than it previously was before their main property. Okay, yeah, we could say 20.
Well, that's why I was saying, that's why I said 22
say
to give
something.
you a little bit of a,
Little buffer.
we have to recalculate.
All we're asking is to show how that was calculated.
Yes.
That's it.
Yep.
And
knowing that they didn't increase, we know that they did less. They're within a legal term of it. So if we put that in as a condition that we just need the number and it needs to be.
Want to try a motion?
Make a motion that 67 Welch's Point 3, Lot 33, be approved with the following conditions. Number one, that the impervious cover calculations will be clearly laid out. Number two is that the impervious cover number will be below 22%. Number three is that the she shed, that's what I'm defining it as. The she shed is 64.2 feet away from the shoreline on the north side of the property. The under drain on the south side of the property, an SD line will be daylighted or ended 50 feet from the shore. And then the last one is that the she shed will never be used as accessory dwelling unit.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Discussion. Brent?
So I just want to know, based on that, I would make amendments to this document, the draft findings, to outline those additional comments or changes that can be signed at. Thanks.
Yeah, I just split the first one into two. It's really,
Are there any amendments to that motion? Hearing none, all in favor? All opposed? The vote? You're welcome. Next. Thank you.
It's your sh-
Okay, B. 918 Memorial Drive. You folks have anything to add? Please?
So I'm Susan and that's Robin.
Welcome.
Thank you. So we went through the kind of bullet points that you guys talked about at the last meeting and addressed them with this narrative, I guess would be the best way to describe it. So the first thing that we did, of course, was get the silt fence and the mix of for the berm placed.
Erosion control.
Yeah, that's done.
Checked it out today. Looks
did?
good. Looks good. Thank
Yeah,
you. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And then you guys should have a picture of the interior square footage, which we had calculated at 960.
Want to confirm
Yeah,
in front of you.
okay. And then on that same picture should be the existing square footage, the footprint, which is 998. And then we are proposing just to add that, I think it's 32 square feet. So our proposed square footage would then be 1030 once we shore up that back part of the camp where you guys probably saw that it was rotting underneath. So then number 4 is, again, the silt fence. And we're not removing any more trees. The trees that were taken down were the ones that were necessary for access. We did do with the green squirrel, and that is also added on in the pages in front of you. Green squirrel, their landscaping place we did the replanting plan and the narrative. So the revegetation, we talked with Dawn about this today because we didn't know if we had to do hardwood or softwood or, and she said that usually Mark would be the one maybe who would give us the recommendation. So we left it in my narrative blank because we'll do whatever. And we'll do 3 different species because they don't want, if we're planting 12 trees, so you can't have 50% be like a birch. So we're gonna do like 3 birch, 3 pine, 3 this, or 4 birch, 4 pine, whatever is recommended to us by Mark. And that is sort of alluded to because our green squirrel guy, he just put in hardwoods. And when we talked with Dawn, we were like, should they be hardwood or softwood? Yeah.
Joyce, this actually is not in front of you, and this was the, what she's referencing, green squirrel. Referencing a doc. Picking up.
Yes, that's just us saying to you that we are working with a landscaper for that aspect. Okay. So then the narrative, of course, for the revegetation is another sheet of paper, and I'm hoping in front of you guys have a site plan that you can reference that we had done, which shows the trees that were there, the trees that were removed, which should be red X's, and then the green trees of where they're going to be replanted. And we tried to do them in the closest proximity and density to what was taken as per the DEP recommendations. But our landscaper was like, you know, you might have a little bit of trouble because if we're putting in bigger trees that are established, you know, not little saplings, he said the root ball might be hard for certain places. So grain of salt with positioning, we'll do the best that we can in what we're suggesting, and there might be a little bit of variation as to just their exact location. Does that make sense? Okay. Any questions, or can I keep going? I mean, I have
Continue.
this microphone,
Continue.
I'll be here all night.
Continue.
Okay. So then, of course, the size of the trees, like I just said, the DEP suggests 2 inches in diameter at 4.5 feet tall. We're happy and fine to do that. That's no worries there. And then we just also addressed the erosion and sedimentation control once things are established, because I know that was a point of interest the last meeting. For us, mulching and revegetation, and these A, B, and C are directly from section 15, T1, A through C. The mulching will be done upon completion of the project, and of course, the revegetation as is outlined above. The runoff controls are already in place and will remain until stabilization, meaning like we have it planted and we have it mulched. And then the provisions, because everybody that we've had that's come out, our contractor and the landscaper, I don't know if you guys remember just from your mind's eye, but if you're looking at the lake and the back of our camp, there's from the road down to the back of the camp, it's very steep. And after that is planted, there are currently like low-lying retaining walls. They're not anything that I don't think we're professionally, I don't know how they were put in, but we would like to, because the DEP suggests and everybody says, how are you going to keep this from just, so we would like to have a provision that we can put in like riprap or some kind of a shored up wall there. It doesn't have to, and the wall sounds like some kind of big thing. We just like railroad ties or whatever, something low lying just to shore it up. And what our suggestion is, and it's on the site plan, is to tie it into where the stumps are. So we use the stumps as like, what's that?
Stops.
Yeah. So that's our plan with that. And then all existing buffers that really, they're all pretty much undisturbed. Everything is we're doing is the back of the camp. So my understanding is that the buffers are at the shoreline. But shrubs, all that type of stuff is, that's all established. Okay, so that was the replanting narrative, which was number 5. Number 6 is confirm the impervious calculations with the roof overhang. We did do that. That is included. And then make it clear in the finding, Dawn, I guess this is yours, that we're going to lower the height of that back roof. We know that, we just like that aesthetically better. I don't know if that's important. And then the erosion control berm should stay in place until the revegetation is stabilized. And again, that's something that we are in alignment with. The crust rock infiltration trench will need earth moving. That was something that you guys had, I remember was brought up. So Elliot's narrative says earth moving will total approximately 6 cubic yards along the back of the cottage to be replaced with the crushed stone for an infiltration trench and for drainage and foundation under the addition. So I calculated the 1 foot deep, which is what his suggestion is for this infiltration trench, 3 feet wide from the back of the camp. And it's just about 49 feet long. So as you trace the back of the camp, it's about 49 feet long. So that comes up to 5.4 cubic yards. I'm guessing that's where he got that 6 cubic yards from. We do understand that there's going to be some excavation at the base of the camp, but that's, I don't know if that's, maybe you guys want to clarity with that. My contractor's on, I don't know if you need, I don't know if I'm addressing that.
Is this in the back or down under the existing cabin or where's that excavation? Is that underneath the current cabin or in the back?
What they want to do?
Yeah, what you were just talking about.
So, yeah, Elliot's description is that that trench is placed in like an outline on the back of the camp.
Right.
My assumption is that, I know you can't assume, but is that most of the digging is going to be done really already because of where the camp sits and that water's coming down and has eroded it. So he's just going to dig out under there so they can level it. And then he's going to do a little bit off the side to the left and off the side to the right. And I don't think it's going to be more than 10 cubic yards, but again, if that's my thing on that. And then with the erosion control, we already took care of that with Mark, and that was done in the week of July.
Curious, down in front, I was able to see the sides, but I wasn't able to see the shore. Is there any kind of control down there?
There's rock all in the front that goes.
Riprap?
Yep.
Riprap?
Riprap, okay.
That's what's there
what
currently?
Riprap is, okay, I'm still learning. And then there's a bunch of vegetation there,
Ah, okay.
you know.
You're
there's-
not
there's-
concerned about erosion
what-
control? You're not concerned about erosion in that area?
No,
You've done the two sides.
Yeah.
Yeah, are you ready for questions?
Yeah.
Okay. Any work being done under the cabin
under it, like,
or shoring up or redoing
Yes.
posts?
Lance is on here, so he'll address.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so there's a rotted sill that we want to take out and replace. And we got to demo the back of the camp first to really understand, what needs to be done. And it's basically understanding, once that's all demoed, what's going to entail to fix that. So shoring it up basically and kind of leveling it. And then we're going to, build the addition onto that.
Why I asked, because I saw the 3 or 4 round concrete pads up on the roadside. I assumed that's what you were going to do with them.
Yeah, yeah.
Placing down that area.
Yeah, unfortunately, as you know, the camp is not frost protected. So, we just gotta kind of, get it as level as we can. And, just build it as best as we can, with the conditions, that are currently in place.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
I'm sorry, let's start over here, Don.
You take. So I just want to make sure that.
Just a minor. Under.
Yeah, that, I think, yeah, I think he does have that in the narrative when, yeah, it's like 4.6 is what he's proposing for the stone. Yeah,
You're still well.
okay.
No,
Looking at the drawing, I assume the heavy yellow up and back toward the road, that's kind of where the tree plan is.
Yeah, I think that's
That's what that
that's
yellow's
the
all about.
mulching area. I think that we're gonna have that all mulched out.
That's what that is. And then squiggly down by the shore, is that?
That's like the vegetation, right?
That's what I thought. Okay.
It's already there.
That's the shore vegetation?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Greg?
Yeah, I just wanted to double check on 2 things.
Mhm.
Number one, when you're going to put the back of the camp back on, it was mentioned on site by, I'm not sure if that was your other contractor or who he was, but he mentioned doing posts or piers or some other type of installation. Do you know if they're going to put in helical piles? Are they going to do, how are they going to reattach? Are they just going to use ground pads and put gravel under them like the rest of the camp? Or are they going to, my question is basically, are you going to have to dig a big hole trying to put like an elephant foot pier or something like that? And that's what I
No.
was going to try to avoid.
Yeah.
So,
Right. We're going to put the 24-inch circumference pads in place. So we're not going to dig.
okay.
Yeah. So we're not going to disturb any more soil that is needed. We're just going to get it in place, get some good crushed rock underneath there, and and compact it, and that's it.
Okay. And I want to thank you for coming in and doing a pre-review with us because I really think this is the type of application we want to see. So thank you for coming in and doing the work.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Dawn, were you able to get some time to do any kind of a file search on this one?
I did not put a history together.
Okay. That would be my only,
Just to speak to that, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. When we bought the camp, we had come in here and had talked to Mark about the not so much the project, but the fact of what was going on underneath. And he did at that time pull our file and look, and he said there had been no increase in the camp, which is why we then started this process. And we were just going to square the whole thing off in the back because we still have that 30%, like we could do 300 basically almost square feet. But yeah, we wouldn't have gone down this road at all if there had already been an addition that we couldn't then go forward. Does that make sense?
yes, it does. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All set, Brent?
Sir.
The last meeting, we questioned if there was a permit for cutting, and Anthony confirmed with us there was.
Yeah.
And it was established in November of last year.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to see it. Just point of clarification, so.
Yeah.
Okay, what about the public? Did we do the public notice?
Speak to it. I did get a phone call from Debbie Sherman. And she called to say she's at 898 Memorial Drive. And she called to indicate she supports the project and general and, you know, specifically because it's a restoration. Just thought it over.
Anybody in the audience, public comment? You're all set? Thank you. So where are we at? What's the appropriate motion?
You can take an action at this time to approve as presented, approve with conditions, or deny with a specific.
We've done the application complete.
No, I'm sorry, you did.
We haven't done that yet.
Complete.
Okay, so we need to do that first. I'll entertain a motion to indicate that the application's complete.
I ask one thing. Get done.
It is on the bottom of the replanting plan, Don.
What's that?
It's on the bottom of the replanting plan, I believe. Existing impervious, proposed impervious.
Okay.
I believe it's a decrease.
Okay. Again, I'm back to entertaining a motion for application complete.
My numbers say 1,700 square feet of impervious. For total.
Percentages.
My bad. Apologize.
Just reading.
I know it's small writing. I couldn't.
Okay, I'm now entertaining a motion for application complete.
I'll make a motion that the 918, application for 918 Memorial Drive be approved as complete.
Discussion? In favor? Okay, next step is you said either table, accept.
Feel that it's ready to approve. And you could do that. I don't have a draft findings for you, but I could draft one based on discussion.
Take that vote.
Submitted.
We could take that vote
We're
tonight
ready
if we so
to-
desire.
To approve.
What's the desire of the committee? Ray, you want to handle it?
I'll make a motion that, had a comment there. I would like to make a motion that the application for 918 Memorial Drive, map 47, lot 22, be approved.
There's a second? Discussion.
To ask, are there any conditions that would be tied?
I think they've addressed them, so following what they submitted.
I just got a question, and you may have talked to it and I just didn't hear it, but one of the discussion in the last meeting was about grinding versus removing the stumps. Go ahead. I should have asked before, but
We're not planning on grinding the stumps.
just leave them the way they are.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Jamie.
The vote? Thank you.
Welcome to Memorial Drive. Rick and I both are your neighbors.
I
Yeah.
drove by today, you were on the dock and I was waiting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Where are you from in Pennsylvania? He used to live in Erie.
Erie, he's from Erie. Thank you.
Nice summer.
Good luck. All right, C is 77 Turtle Run Road. Continued from 7/9.
So
Dawn, you want to go first or?
I just want to, so last time, me and he speak to you, and then he indicated to me that that information. I haven't seen that, so I don't. On.
That might have. That might have been my confusion. So I did speak with Phil, the town's attorney, and I was aware that Phil and Dawn had spoken. I was under the impression that there's a couple different ways you can go. That's what I was essentially prepared to speak to about tonight. So first is, the question is whether or not, and I think the question that was at the last hearing is whether or not whether it's a change of use, and then whether in regards to a non-conforming use, and then whether it's a change of use of a non-conforming structure. Those are the two big elements under your ordinance. And one, I was of the opinion that we fall under neither. I will submit to you that right now that your town's attorney, Phil Saucier, doesn't necessarily agree with me, but I'm an attorney. My clients don't always agree with me either. So I'm going to present to you at least that particular issue, and then I'll go to where I think Phil and Dawn's discussion were. And either way, I think we still meet it. But regardless, I think we fall under the definition, under your town's definition of a dwelling unit. And then with regards to a dwelling unit, whether a dwelling unit converts into a commercial use, there's an actual exemption for that. And I'm of the opinion, based on what's already in the town files, is that these particular units, granted this is a motel and hotel, but they've already been deemed as a dwelling. And that's because of the unique nature of this particular hotel motel is the fact that these particular dwellings already have bathrooms, living quarters, sinks, bedrooms. It's not just like a bedroom and a sink and a bathroom. So they were deemed as dwellings back in, I think, in 2004 or whatever, when that determination was made. So my discussion with Phil, as I said, under your ordinance, when you look at what a dwelling unit is, and then when you look at conversion of uses to a commercial use, and I don't think we're there here either, but it specifically exempts dwelling units. And typically this is when you have a resident, when you have like a 4-unit apartment and you're converting that now into a condo. Your ordinance specifically says that's not a change of use. And there's case law in that regard. I recognize that this is not an apartment building or anything, and that was the discussion that Phil and I were having. And he says, well, I can see where the planning board would say, this is a hotel motel, it's not an apartment building. I think that's probably what the intent of the ordinance is, right? That's not up for Phil or I decide, like, right, we can have that battle all day long. That's up for your decision. So I think the clear path is, right, under your ordinance is to say, these are dwelling units. So regardless of the change of use, that's exempt under your change of use ordinance, and you don't even need to go there. Okay, putting that aside, I think that's the easy path. Your second path is your ordinance does allow for change of use of a non-conforming structure and change of use relative to, I'm sorry, non-conforming lot. Both of them say the same thing. It says
The use of a non-conforming structure may not be changed to another use unless the planning board, after receiving a written application, determines that the new use will have no greater adverse impact on the water body, tributary stream, or wetland on the subject or adjacent properties and resources than as the current existing use. It then goes on to say, and I think this is important because when it talks about non-conforming use under D3, it refers you back to 9C5. So I'm just reading from that. It says, within, skip a little bit, within the shoreline, because that's where we are, within the shoreline, the planning board shall require written documentation from the applicant regarding the probable effects on the public health, safety, erosion, and sedimentation, water quality, fish and wildlife habitat, vegetative cover, visual and actual points of public access to waters, natural beauty, floodplain management, archaeological and historical resources, and other functional water-dependent uses. So, path number one, I think it's pretty straightforward. Path number two is whether or not our particular change of use has a greater adverse impact on the water body. I would submit to you, as we argued last time, that we are going from daily transient motel, hotel use to condo, single family ownership. You've seen our declaration. It doesn't allow for short-term rentals. You've also seen the plan submitted by their engineer, Ben, in which that we are actually reducing the number of units. So I forget the total number of units now, but we're going down below, I think down to 21 or something along those lines. So it's all in your package. So we're actually reducing the number of units. So there's be a significant reduction in terms of the impact on the water body. In addition, our plans already address many of the other issues because, again, we're going change of ownership. There's no new development. Some of the things that were suggested by the planning board last time, which is we wanted to see in the bylaws and declarations, the vegetative plan, no changes to the impervious service. We put that in. I think those were already required regardless under your current ordinance, but we reiterated it in the declaration and bylaws. So that's where we are at today. Dawn, if I misspoke anything that pursuant to your discussions with Phil, please correct me. I don't want to. I'm happy to put my opinion in writing. Okay.
Don, we currently do not have his opinion, right? So with that said, we're continuing this, as I understand it, we're continuing this discussion until we get that input, which is what the last expectation of the board was. Is that correct?
I think so.
We want to clear feedback from our lawyer in that process. So as far as action tonight, we're just continuing the continuance, or do we need another motion to continue it, or nothing's changed other than this gentleman's input, right?
Well, we're scheduled for a public hearing next hearing, and so I don't.
Really no action necessary because
It's
that's
a little
noted.
frustrating because I don't know why I can't request your town's attorney to give you opinion.
We
I
can
submitted an
we-
email to him and Dawn, of which Dawn did not reply. I then had a conversation with Phil after his discussion with Dawn, and now you're telling me that we're continuing this again. I just want all this on the record.
Fine.
We don't have the information. So.
We have your
nothing.
input. We do not have
have
our
nothing.
lawyer's input.
Okay. Who's going to request this from Phil? Because I can't.
Mention something, what I think might be good if they're scheduled. Maybe get ratings. Yeah, I think we see both.
It's your
Oh.
ordinance.
Pardon?
You're the decisional.
Please, sir,
It's your
don't go down that road again. Don't go down that road again, please. I think it's clear we're waiting for feedback, just like we were the last meeting from our lawyer. And yes, we are the decision makers. You're right there.
So I think seeing both opinions on it and
And we have this gentleman's opinion, so now we need ours, our lawyers. Thank you.
We should talk on the phone then, because there must be some misunderstanding. Last communication.
Or include me on those.
That said,
emails.
Don,
I included you.
Don, we're still headed for the public hearing next meeting, as you indicated. We just got to have those facts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, you're going to document that, right? What the points he made tonight, you're going to document, so we have that perspective, please.
Yeah.
You all set?
Yeah.
Okay. No action on that item. We're still going toward the public hearing next meeting. Thank you.
I can just go with what I believe.
I can ask, what are we talking?
So there's a couple of important points what is our deciding path moving forward? And our path is chosen if it's a residential, there's a different part of the ordinance that we have to follow. If it's commercial, there's a different path of the ordinance. If we go with a subdivision, and we have to follow that. So what are the rules? We don't have a condominium plan. So I've got some notes for that based on the state ordinance, the state policy on condominiums. But again, our question was more, they're separating the two businesses that exist now into different businesses. The marina, and I think the question is also for the people specifically for the motel, and they're proposing taking 2 units and making them into one, which would cause physical wall structure, things like that within the shoreline zone. Does that have to come to us? You know, it's a multi-family, it's a multi-dwelling unit, which according to the ordinance would have to come to us. If it's a single unit, it wouldn't. So it's really kind of bizarre what category it falls in is really important for us to know how to apply our ordinance. And it is our decision on how to apply the ordinance, but right now it feels like we got a left and a right hand and they're not in the same arena. So it's hard to know. It's right.
I just myself, the last communication from the town attorney reviews our discussion. He said, I did have a chance to connect with Andre Duchette, who just left, to discuss the commercial use, change of use issue, the parking and the dock matters. He plans to discuss this with his client and provide additional information prior to the next
Who's
on
this?
the record.
Who's this?
Bill Saucier, that was what I got, Saucier, so I did not.
Who's going to discuss with their client?
He was supposed.
They were, that was from,
Mention that, did it?
He was supposed to. So unless there was communication between Bill,
So we're expecting something in writing from this guy?
you should have that information in advance along with the attorney's
Bill.
opinion.
Yeah. Okay,
And then
just-
you are the decision makers, but you asked.
yeah, he keeps pointing that out. I noticed that.
To have. Absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Right now,
What's the difference if it's commercial resident? Is that really the big?
if it's residential, it's not allowed. That's one thing. So that would be a.
what are they trying to make it? Commercial? It's commercial now.
Not clear.
What do they want to make the new stuff? We know that. I did a clear indication.
Well, and that's the question. If it's a dwelling unit, that's clearly defined for residential. I don't think we define dwelling unit anywhere on commercial. Commercial has to do with a commercial business. So if we had to apply the low, medium, high standards, those standards are in here. We can apply those. And
We would say it's going from commercial to residential.
that's what I don't know. If it goes to residential, we can't permit it. Because of the number, the.
But help me understand, what I just heard for presentation was laying out two possibilities, right?
Yeah,
He laid out two possibilities,
yes,
but there was not a clear which one.
no,
And that's what we asked for the
right.
last meeting.
That's what we asked for.
It's not. See, something he said just in our own discussion, just because I'm trying to work. Actually, less use for the arena part. Use of the land. It is less use on it just because.
Right, right. Just enforcing what's written is what we're trying to follow, is trying to understand that.
Trying to show if something is less harmful to the lake
Right.
by doing that project. It's not a good way to,
No.
we don't know what's. Get a bunch of people in there could do a lot of
Explain it.
damage to the lake.
As far as I'm concerned, we're not any further ahead than we were last meeting.
And I apologize, because I didn't mean to do disservice to the applicant or to the board, but I wasn't expecting.
Not gonna be ready.
That's what I'm worried about, is how can we do a public
Well,
meeting
that and
without the
approve-
information?
I don't know what they're gonna do with the marina. Remember, we talked about that should be a totally separate land building. Kind of said, yeah, we can do that. They haven't addressed that either.
Well, let me ask, if I was a public, that's the public's input into this process, right?
Really,
Right, exactly. I mean, we can still have that input. We may still not make a decision, but we can still have that input. And that satisfies that.
Yeah, okay.
Now we can move on and we have the flexibility to
So it doesn't have to answer our questions. It could be there's new ones.
correct. Which is fair to the abutters. I mean,
If there's enough information for them to be able to have their say, then I would agree. And I think what we're debating about here is probably not going to be critical for them to completely understand or completely know.
The abutters?
before yeah, the
I
abutters.
agree.
I don't think
That's public input.
yeah, I don't think
Period.
that's critical to whether they like the project, don't like the project, or have any concern.
Well, yeah,
You know, they should be able to still voice their concerns. That would be my only
Right.
reservation.
I can't see us being ready to approve this. Can I just finish? I can't see us being able to approve this thing until all this other stuff is decided.
Without a doubt, but I don't think it precludes us from the public meeting doesn't put
No,
we don't have to vote.
I'm
right,
agreeing with the
okay,
public meeting.
okay.
We kind of indicated maybe we'd be able to. I don't,
You'll have met the steps, you'll have met the noticing requirements, the acceptance requirements, and I will try to resolve as many, questions as I can.
yeah, we need to know what, they're going from commercial, there's no doubt about that. What are they trying to?
Well, part of it is that they've said they're not commercial, and
Yeah, well,
where I'm not.
collect money, don't they? Different people all year long, same people don't. And commercial in my, and that whole marina thing, having a marina, underground gas tanks, full stock, condominium, on condominium land, how can you do that?
Yeah, I am, like, just want to see what's asking camp. There are campgrounds where people rent the sites for seasonal use. They build structures on there.
They're not within the shoreline zone, the structures they build. Any camper. All of the uses near the water, they're grandfathered, but they can't build anything new. So no new structures are built within, and they're not building, and they're not
Nothing to do with
proposing to
the
build
season.
anything.
Yeah.
But it'd be pretty hard to kind of compare the two where you're
Right.
renting out a
I'm
lot.
trying to find something.
Structure.
Okay.
Well, that's where Dawn told us the standard that they're applying is the subdivision ordinance.
Mhm.
That's the standard that we're supposed to be following.
Okay.
And I mean, if we go strictly through the subdivision, division ordinance, there's requirements for a lot of different things. Now, do we grandfather them because they didn't change the land? So we don't make them do a nitrogen study, a green space, roads, access, things like that. What we're also going to be saying is they can't do substantial improvements. So they can't go pave the whole lot. They can't go make those kind of grass kind of driveways, into full gravel driveways and things like that. So we can say those things and make that a conditional use. But we can't apply a lot of the standards that are in the subdivision ordinance because they're grandfathered. So, but then last time the lawyer brought up the condominium standard, which is a state standard. So, and I've gone through some of it, but I haven't gone through all of it to say, okay, what are they allowed to do under the condominium standards under the state? Is
My
there,
question was, what did we do with the
because we don't,
condominiums that they set up with those?
I don't think we followed anything, and that's what there's no mention of condominium anywhere in our ordinance. It's not listed.
So we just approved it as an HOA condominium,
I'm guessing,
as like, how did we look back? Just curious, because they might bring it too, they might say. it, or-
oh, they've already brought it up and they said, this is the same thing. Why aren't you approving it? And I mean, our point was kind of like, well, that's not, I don't know. I don't know if they applied it the right way, and they're specifically breaking off this marina as a separate business. And there's also a motel in the middle of these units. They weren't just standalone houses that they were making into condos. This is a lot of different
Big.
parts and pieces.
Bigger. Do we, just as reference? It's condom. Residential.
It's a little,
The condominiums up the road, the nice ones,
oh,
I looked up a couple people, it's residential.
that is residential, and I would say that now the cabins that were converted probably considered residential because they are owned individually, there aren't any restrictions or an office, or, this is where I'd like to talk about if these cabins start coming. This is unusual, we don't. Another
These stuff, some.
Well,
tell them,
4 or 5 cabins weren't real complicated. You didn't have a marina tied into them. You weren't asking those people to allow the marina to, other than putting their docks, they weren't asking them to put their fuel tanks underground and their boat launch on their property. It's the difference here.
Jamie, do you understand that the
Say now.
current structure incorporates the ramp, fuel tank? All that is under the auspices, potentially under the auspices of condominium association. Doesn't make a lot of sense. The liability, future owners, there's some issue.
Have we seen the language on the easement that the current landowners would grant to themselves in effect for the marina, to see what that says about marina operations, about fuel tank? I mean, I can't imagine they would relinquish control in any way, shape, or form to another party, to this condominium association, that's going to impact their business. There's got to be language in that lease, that easement, that allows them.
Condominium association was definitely overseeing site maintenance.
At the marina?
Yes, everywhere. And in the original plan, like Don said, in the original plan, the building that the marina is going to own with the restaurant and the upstairs apartment unit
Understood,
was actually part of the condominium association.
understood, yeah.
And it's still there.
And we've said, yeah, we would make more sense to move that out of the condominium and make that part of the marina.
That has not happened.
Well, we haven't seen anything
Correct.
to
That
Point I was bringing up.
separate that building, yeah, and make that part of the marina.
I think that's something you need to communicate with them.
yeah, because that was just.
He didn't address it.
He mentioned that he and Phil didn't see ordinance the same. And Bill's trying to,
No,
Yeah.
look at it holistically. I don't have the answers to some of these questions yet because
well,
my understanding was that discussion with Bill.
make sure we talk about that.
We could always have Phil come to the next meeting as well.
Yeah, I kind of feel like our job is to protect these new owners. And I don't know, they're gonna dig in there enough to say, oh my God, stuff's all on our land. These people are backing their boats down this ramp on our land. If somebody gets run over and killed. Marina gonna take care of that with their insurance or is the condominium? Guessing right now, the way it's worded, be the condominium. I think we need to look at,
But I think that is something, if you get into the use, and if it's a commercial use, part of our understanding is to protect the citizens of Winthrop. You know, and they will not be, they can be citizens if they live there, but they can't get their mail, right? They have to be transient. So it's gonna be,
Damn.
yeah, just, I
Well-
mean, just some kind of a better understanding, I think. And the reason that the parking came in for the marina was because they specifically said there was additional parking in their condominium plan across the street in the marina. So they brought it in and then they got mad at us for talking about parking. And we were like, but you guys said, oh, we're just gonna cut that off. There is no parking across the street. Okay, and
want to get rid of the hotel and these buildings.
that's what we're trying, and again, well, we're
That's
doing
what
a-
I'm
if
trying
we're
to.
doing a
Yeah.
conditional use permit,
Yes.
the question is, what is the use? And how are we supposed to enforce the ordinances when we don't understand the use? We're kind of like, which side of the apple we're gonna be, which side of the cart is this apple gonna fall on is really important for us to understand.
Right.
On Bill Monago's input, he's mainly talking about the parking lot.
Yeah, so the parking lot across the street, they did refer to, you all looked at it when we were out in the field. Previous application, the previous owner had expanded to the planning board. There was 2 or 3 meetings and there was huge discussion on parking and they were spaces because there was no space. So that's how that got pulled in, but it's apparent that there's fill gone in there. Not a site plan going on, regardless of if that gets as part of this. And separately, there's a lot of attention population. Like to see it all roped in and just cleaned up. But if difficult.
Okay,
Mentioned Bill Monagle, that Bill weighed in because he had seen.
he's emphatic, he wants to be involved in that process. But he'll get notice of the next meeting anyways, right? All right, so let's move on to other business. And I thank you for reviewing that letter. And I gave that to Don to give to Anthony for the open spaces mapping.
Let's hope it has some bearing.
That it?
Which deadline was today. So this Turtle subdivision is on there. I have an application. Conditional use permit in the shoreland to take down, relocate a house and construct a garage. 12 Hayward Way. So I'll be reviewing that for.
What body of water is that on? It's okay if you don't know, I'm just,
Gonna look that up. And 69
You're
Yukon Lane, they're gonna construct a which involves hill. Straightly,
where's that?
69 Yukon Lane. Then 89 York Lane, they want to build a foundation under an existing structure in the shoreline. Yeah, it's Shoreland District, yep.
Way.
I have HAWYARD. You,
Where's one for the,
so I'm gonna work with the admin person to help go through and create an agenda.
any of these on the next agenda? Are any of these going to be on the next agenda?
Oh, well, we're gonna review them together on Friday for completeness to see if they're ready to formally put on the agenda, but that's what I've received. And then I know at least two of them, when I skimmed through it, they looked like they're pretty complete, but I'll go over that.
The only reason I ask is that we need to make sure we do walkthroughs,
Yes,
like visits.
yep, I've alerted them that if they're on that agenda, that they're scheduled.
172 Memorial, nothing there?
No. And something else that's been hanging out, it hasn't moved forward, is on Rural Street, there's those two projects still, self-storage. And then across the street from that, retail, and you've had discussions about both of them, but
Self-storage, as I understand it, should be a dead issue anyway, isn't it? Isn't the property reserved for phosphorus control? Or
well,
different site location, or not site location, but under different authorization?
potentially. Yeah, I talked with Bill Monagle about that recently, and that appears to be the case. If they have evidence otherwise, but yeah, that does appear to be something.
Really appreciate your involvement in building those, and he does too, so thank you.
Recently, he thought that a parking lot was on the agenda, and he was trying to make comment, and it wasn't. So he took time to look at stuff that I didn't send him because it wasn't. Yeah, so yes, it's great to have his input. I went and met with him on that.
Okay, another item, we met Don, myself, Turner, what's Turner's last?
I can't remember his last name.
We'll learn it. He's Joel's replacement at KB Cog, doing the digital stuff. So, and Colin Clark, Mark, yourself, that was it, right? We all met here Monday and went through a list of issues, not a long list, but a list of issues relative to the maps and a designation for zones. And there's enough need that Dawn's going to facilitate or get together, Dawn and I, Turner, and Dawn and Mark as necessary to go through and fix. So we'll be bringing something to the board to say, okay, we got issue here, we got to fix it. And it's part and parcel of what we said we'd do when we created the digital copy, and give you the opportunity to go look at it and say, okay, this is what we got to fix. And so anyway, I want to let the board know that we've got that process going on. So we're reconvening as a committee, and we got a new player with Turner. And he was impressive in terms of where he's at in the process.
Making changes as we were sitting there, trying to figure stuff out. He's like, yeah.
He knows about the, the state DEP requirements, and I mean, I was impressed.
Joel is the director, so
He moved up, so Turner took his place, so, and we're lucky to have that resource. The other thing that Colin said is he was impressed with where we were at with our processes, both
it's great to hear.
in terms of the ordinance and the mapping. We're ahead of a lot of towns. I think that's how he said it, right?
Say it again?
We're ahead of a lot of towns
I did say that.
in terms of where we're at, so I thought I'd pass it on to board.
One thing
Work,
he-
you know,
Two things, though, he suggested is a map,
good point.
just the shoreline, big one. that we- Yep.
It's a good idea. Yeah.
And everything else. We'd have a master and we'd have a shoreline map that.
Well, even just to share that online too, as a PDF, so people could
That's what
zoom
I'm
in.
saying.
Yeah. I mean, you could have a printed map for
It'd
sure,
be digital too.
but digital, just having it as a standalone
Big one, though.
PDF. Yep.
Great for our meetings, just get
Yep.
it up there, look at it.
And there's some subtleties with our map where you get the town roads and streets into it, and it kind of looks like it all comes together and you can't see. So they have methodologies for changing the line size, and so it becomes more obvious where the zones are, so. And then the
Probably
other,
not something we're gonna do right away, but he kind of suggested maybe ordinance. Yeah,
It's on the map, but I mean,
You-
actually truly having a shoreland separate standalone map would be very helpful for people because it is a pretty big
and
distinction.
it's easy to do. It's real easy to do.
Right,
I mean,
and that doesn't really, in the true shoreland, not necessarily applying to water resource protection and some of the other layers that we into those maps, is the shoreland zone is very distinct, and basically those rules are pretty strict, and we have to follow them.
We also talked about the color legend and how much stuff is so close in terms of spectrum. You know, the yellow, orange, and they suggested, Kona did, as well as Turner, talked about how we re-legend the colors so that it's more obvious. And I guess one way, we don't want to use red, right? I think.
You can use red, you can't use green. If you use green.
No, red's another, it's a town to town thing.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
Want to use
Coney
green.
and-
Just use
Coney.
green, that's fine. Green's perfectly fine. You can't use red and green together anyways.
Turner learned a lesson there about
Well, no, then colorblind can't see it. It's not 508
Oh,
compliant.
that's great.
Yeah, you can't use,
red and green.
that's the most common form of colorblindness. You can't use them together.
I can lose a red T and a green. There,
Did he play with white, right?
I play with white, yellow.
Thing.
Okay, anything else?
I've got a few notes, if we're done with that, just some of the things that we've talked about, and if we wanted to put them on our agenda or schedules, some of the ordinance updates. We had the planning board versus the code officer for shoreland zone, single dwelling units. And then we had a bunch of questions for Mark, things like, okay, when you dig the hole for the foundation, how is that not 24 yards? And how is that included in the dwelling and not here? Just that understanding. And then we had some other stuff for Mark, like impervious cover. And that's something that impervious cover, some of these are Mark and some of these are ordinance. So we may want to talk to Mark, then go to the ordinance. So, we use impervious cover all through our ordinance, and they use vegetated area all through the state guidelines. We probably need to change that to vegetated area to match the state. So we really shouldn't be using, but impervious cover does apply, but also we have to do vegetated, sorry, I say that backwards every time, non-vegetated area. It's just 80% versus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sheet that I passed around earlier for a future workshop actually has on
I
it
saw some of the things on there, and that's,
define this area, and then there's a section that comes. I would love to have all that.
yeah,
to be
just, I think
consistent
some of
and-
the things that have come up, and I mean, I hate to keep bringing up the subdivision ordinance. I'm just scared to death somebody's going to come in and we can't follow it. I mean, honestly, nobody's ever done that.
Well, the public works director is scheduled to come to the August workshop. The timing is perfect in terms of, road designs.
One of these meetings, I mean, we committed back in March, April to go after this in June. And we obviously got very busy with applications and they're going on and on. But, yeah, sometime in August, we ought to make it a priority that's what we're doing. It's a workshop and go get it done.
You offered, I was thinking about.
No, I'm just, it's just these things are rolling around and I see that come up and kind of feel like, if we're going to make a change to the ordinance, we should make the updates. But I think we need Mark in here first to answer some questions. What is a structure? Brent asked that same question to me and I was like, does a tent that stays up all year long for 6 months and has stakes in the ground and is actually changing the ground cover underneath, is that a structure? Right. What is a structure and how is it defined? I mean, the state luckily defined the solar panel for us, so we could kind of get that definition, but then there's all the other questions about what is a structure.
So
It's defined, but it's still vague. So, I mean, again, if you put up a tent all summer long and, is it,
Like a carnival tent.
like a carnival tent. We're not talking,
Not a
and,
tent.
and you actually changed, well, and you even, you even excavated and put stone underneath. So it's a different type of ground cover than what's outside. So
Yeah.
clearly it was intended to be something that's going to be there. Is that a structure?
Colin talked about that the other day, same
Oh,
example,
did he? Okay.
and it's duration.
But what is, we don't have any of that
I
listed.
understand.
So that's why, I mean, even if it's not written in the ordinance, knowing Mark's interpretation and our interpretation, I think we should be on the same page.
When you look at White Duck, they have the outside tent. That's a huge tent. And that's, in months it's up. It's certainly through the summer, but did you capture all of his points?
Transcribed, so yeah.
Okay, so it's gonna be on this list.
In some notes, and then I'll.
They'd be part of this list.
Yeah, that's just, so I have a little list here, and this was just something for you guys to muck around with.
Muck around with.
This went over the edge. 10,000 numbers to give us one number.
So can we commit to
This might-
sometime in August, late August, that we're doing this? Is that agreeable?
Give it a try. I mean, if we get a lot of applications, that has to take precedence.
Understand.
So I just didn't want to lose this, that's all.
We appreciate it.
All of the things.
Well, we won't because today was the deadline. So the next applications that come in will be for the September meeting. So there are potentially the ones I listed earlier, plus if they're not complete, then they'll be taken off and moved to a different agenda. So we do have, we have 3-1 and questions will be answered and take a look.
And that's a public meeting, so we have no idea. We could have one person show up, we could have 100 people show up, and we, the sand and gravel one, we had, I don't know how many people we had show up, but it was a lot of people.
Significant.
It was, and Tina Lynn, thank goodness, gave a time limit. So I'd like to put that in the chairman's ear, is to say, if the room looks full, make sure you give them, each person, a time limit. They can all have a chance to speak, but, we're going to cap how much time they take to speak. And then it's thank you. And, and if you're going to say anything, if someone's already said it, you can stand up there and say ditto, but don't,
How'd I do tonight?
exact. Well, when you only have 2 people in the room,
Oh, okay.
I'm not saying that. When the room is full, you can. Yeah, they were behind the applicants on Welch's Point, so I'm assuming they knew each other's, but they didn't comment when we had.
Oh, they clap when we
They
approve.
did, they clapped when we approved it, so I'm guessing they were for it. I'm guessing.
Hearing nothing.
No. No, it's either permanent or not a structure. Again, is it a structure? That's the question.
You should be.
Infrared heaters in there.
I don't know where that threshold gets crossed, and that's really Mark's determination. That's why I thought it would help us to know what Mark says is a structure. So, and if we don't like what he said, we can propose to change the ordinance. But if he's, again, I don't think we have anything determining any of that.
Something tossed in, there's someone still online, Joe, and they've asked.
Good question.
The assessor picks up from a building permit,
Yep.
is usually how they.
Good question.
And if it's not determined as a structure, it wouldn't need a building permit. So I would think it wouldn't be taxed. Just because it doesn't have a permit, it wouldn't be taxed.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion that we,
Sure.
You and Rick to meeting on the shoreline map. There was something to the
next.
No, it was something because everybody said we don't have a clue what that is.
The calendar? The calendar? She invited a bunch of folks from the revitalization committee.
I think they were on that.
Oh,
Well, maybe they are.
Work.
Might have them on that list.
Sounded like a group work thing.
That it's the calendar. I'll go back and.
I'll find it.
Sure.
I'll find it. I
Yeah.
still got it. So.
look at it.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second the motion.
Brent, second. All in favor? Oh,
Thank you very much.
thank you.